I used to be a massive introvert. And beyond the point of just being an introvert, I was antisocial. Like literally, elementary school through high school, people said to me every year, I didn't know you could talk because I'd gone that far into the school year without them ever hearing me speak. So, once I realized how much farther I could go in life by having better social skills, I decided to start working on them. And when I decided to start working on my social skills, there were a few things that really helped me connect in early conversations. And I'm going to be sharing those things with you in this video so that you can connect more easily, have more friends, go on more dates, get better results when it comes to business networking, even just meet more cool people, have more of a fun time. The world is full of people, literally billions and billions of people. Someone out there is cool, someone out there is for you, someone out there is your type. But you have to be able to identify them. And when you do identify them, you have to be able to connect. So this stuff is really key, not just relationships, socially, business, but for really the quality of your life. So one of the things that was a big turning point for me was realizing that I could change how I responded to common questions. And the big change that I made was instead of responding to these questions with kind of statements of fact, I started telling stories more, right? So, for example, one of the questions people almost always ask when they first meet you is, what do you do? What do you do for work? What's your job? You can give a short answer, a one word answer. Sometimes I did in the past say something like, oh, I work in data, you know, data. People will get that or they won't, or it's informative enough though that you're giving them an answer to their question, right? So it's an honest attempt to answer the question, not bad. However, when you're starting a conversation with someone, when they don't know you very well, and you just give a short answer like that to the question, it makes it hard for them to follow up and go deeper without it seeming like an interview or an interrogation or just uncomfortable, right? Odd, awkward, whatever you want to call it. So the key here is to take the simple answer that you would have given and really expand on it, stretch it out, right? Tell the story. So not just I work in data, but what's the story behind what you're working on in data? So that could take a number of different forms. It could be, well, right now I'm looking at this data about how people are traveling across the country when they're doing these visits, and I'm trying to look at that data to see if they can be more efficient and how they set up their travel schedule, right? So maybe it isn't as much, back and forth here and there, but more of a straight kind of getting all the things, checking off all the boxes, visiting all the places you need, and being more efficient and more effective, right? That's often the big goal of using data to make better decisions is being more efficient, being more effective in some way, somehow. And so the story could be around what are you trying to make better, right? But even with that, which is still a big improvement, right? You give more context, more words for the other person to respond to, more of a story, more things they can pick up. Oh, well, how were people traveling before? Why are they traveling? What are they doing when they travel? There's all sorts of things you could dig into with that longer answer that just the shorter answer of data did not give you, right? So whatever your answer to is when people ask you what you do for work, one of the things that you can do first is try and make that answer a little bit longer so that it gives them more things to follow up about, right? Give them more of an opportunity to find something that they can engage with. And once they're engaging more in the conversation, it's more fun for the both of you, right? Period. And of course, pointing this out is it should be obvious, but I'll go ahead and say the other side is if you want to keep it short, if you want the other person to go away, if you feel like they're bothering you, you can always, of course, say that. And that is my recommendation. Speak up and share what you're thinking, share what you're feeling. Don't be afraid or ashamed of your feelings or anything like that, or afraid of disappointing someone or getting their rejection. If that's really what you're feeling, speak to it. And if you want to encourage the conversation to be shorter, then you can give shorter answers, and that can then provide less of an opportunity for the other person to follow up in a meaningful way, and you end up getting the short conversation or interaction that you really wanted. So this can go both ways, but oftentimes more people are trying to connect, right? You're trying to go out, meet people, trying to find someone you really like, more than just trying to push people away who are coming up to you. So that's the strategy. Tell a story, and don't be afraid to tell a longer story. Even with this example here, I dug into the data a bit, but a longer story could be, well, back as a kid, I was really into math. Then, as I got a little older, one of the things that fascinated me was investment bankers, right? How were some people able to use math to understand stocks, right? To me, stocks seem so random. Some days they're up, some days they're down. It's a 0.5% here, 3.5% there. People always trying to back explain what really happened. No one has kind of the same viewpoint on why stocks and the market went up or down and when it's going to change next time. But yet, some people are able to use mathematics, able to use numbers, able to use analytics to outcompete others. What's going on there? What's that about? That then led me to major in math, also in economics, study the stock market a bit more. And as I learned more math, I really started to see math and data as kind of a puzzle, right? That it's a challenging but fun problem to solve. And so I ended up making a career out of that, going into working in data, not for stocks and for kind of Wall Street, but um, for government, for trying to help the public good. So I was able to solve these challenging problems that really engaged me, and also feel like I was helping to make a difference by working in government. So many more things for someone to follow up about, ask about. And when you're telling that story in the way that I did, of here's where I started, here's what I thought, here's what caused me to change directions and shift here and there, here's what I enjoyed about it, here's what engages me, it shows your passion, right? And when you're passionate about what you're talking about, it helps other people become more engaged, right? When you're bored and it resonates with others, right? They can sense your emotions. They can sense, people can feel kind of what you're putting out there into the world, the energy that you're bringing. And when you're more interested, when you're more engaged, it shines through, right? You are a more fun person to hang out with, to interact with, and it's amazing. So, those are all good things. Storytelling is a hugely effective way to supercharge your interactions, right? It also, because it doesn't just, it gives you kind of a different way to present yourself, right? And also gives the other person a different way to interact with you, right? It gives them a better sense of your personality. And the more of their personality that they can see, the more genuine the connection will be when you make a connection, right? So ideally, when we're going out, we want people to know exactly who we are from the start. And if they don't resonate with this, we don't have that much in common, we can both move our separate ways more quickly and spend more time with the people who we really do connect with, right? This is what we do with our friend groups all the time, right? We go out with them, have fun with them, because we already know that we connect. We already know their personality. And to get to that point of them knowing our personality, of you making that connection, you have to be willing to share yourself. The storytelling, elaborating on your responses to these common questions, what do you do, where are you from, where do you live, these sorts of things, is just so much more opportunity for an engagement, for a connection, that if you aren't doing it, it's something that you can quickly change, right? Today, you can think of a longer story form answer for what do you do, where you live, have you been here before, all those questions. And then those are kind of in your arsenal, those are in your pocket, ready for whatever interactions you're going into the next day, the next week, the next year, the rest of your life. So, this is huge. It can be life changing and transformational just by itself, but it takes this little bit of effort of thinking of things ahead of time, right? If you wait till you get in a social situation, sometimes you can feel anxiety, the pressure, being in an environment where you don't know people, you can feel a bit uncomfortable, and it's harder to then think of more things to say when you're under pressure, when you're feeling stressed, when you're not quite comfortable. So think of it ahead of time. You got it in your back pocket. You can always use it, and it'll help you connect more. So, of course, storytelling is an art form by itself. So there's very deep knowledge and history around effective ways to tell a story, right? You can go into this. You can make a career out of being a more effective storyteller. So I'm just going to give a couple beginner kind of intro points here that will help you tell more effective stories. The first thing is make sure your story has a point, right? The difference between a story and a history is that the story builds up to a point, right? You can tell someone a story that is very, very boring, very, very bland by just keeping it strictly factual. Did this first, did this second, did this third, did this fourth. When you bring in the emotion, when you bring in the why, when you bring in the because, that's what makes it more engaging, right? Even if someone isn't making those same decisions, those same judgments, we can still empathize with the emotions that they felt, and we can still empathize with how they had to think through tough situations. So when you're explaining the why or the I did this because this happened because, it's more engaging to the other person, because even if they don't have the experience that you're talking about in that story, they have the experience of thinking through tough situations. They have the experience of feeling emotions. They have the experience of life themselves, right? Of relating to others' experiences. So make sure that you're trying to bring emotion into your stories. Make sure that you have a point to your story. If it's just a list of events or a list of facts, it's going to be more boring than if you can bring in that emotion from the beginning, right? And when you have a point to your story, you can then bring up that point in different parts of the story. So you could start your story with kind of the punchline, right? I mentioned some common questions, where do you live? You can start that with the punchline. Well, after living a few different places, I found that I really like the suburbs because blah, 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 right? You're starting with the point up front, or you can go into it and say, well, growing up, I lived in kind of a more rural place. Then when I went to college, I feel like I got around many more people, got more of an urban sort of feel. After I started working, I moved to a few different places as I was working in different areas, got a chance to experience kind of a few more different environments, different neighborhoods, different scenery, and found that what I really liked was being able to have shopping close by, being able to have transportation close by, but also being in a place that was a bit less crowded than the city. And so I found that I really liked kind of the outside suburbs of the city, and that's where I live now. You know, you can stack it in different ways. You can arrange it in different ways. You can change your story to suit you and how you feel and how you want to communicate. But just make sure that your story has these elements of having a point, eliciting emotion, sharing the reasoning behind the decisions, and not just this first, this second, this third. That'll get you telling more effective stories that are more engaging and give other people more of an opportunity to find something that they can and want to engage with. So, the next topic that I want to talk about, and it's really kind of related to storytelling, because when others share information, this is how you interact with their stories, right? And I'm going to bring up two kind of different ways of doing this to show a big contrast, right? And it may seem like I'm bringing these two up to show a contrast and presenting them as opposites, but that's really not the case. So, one way that people often respond to others is with commonality seeking, right? So, someone says, "Hey, I'm from Italy." You say and think, "Oh, I went to Italy last year. Let me Let me share that. Let me talk about that. What that's doing is you seeking rapport with the other person, right? They shared something, you want to share that, oh, we have this in common, and because we have things in common, we may connect, right? That's great thinking. And that's very often what you find to be the case. However, when you're talking to someone and they don't know you at all or don't know you very well, if you just skip to the commonalities, if they say something and you immediately say, oh, I did this, then what you're doing is they're sharing something about themselves, and immediately you're going back and you're making it about you instead of following up and listening to them talk about themselves, right? So they took an opportunity to share something about themselves, and then you're immediately saying, oh, me this. You're not giving them the same opportunity to share even more about themselves, right? Kind of the other side of the coin, as opposed to seeking commonalities, it's what's more called reflective listening. So you listen to what they say, and then you kind of repeat it back in a way to show that you understand, and then dig a little bit deeper. Oh, you said you're from Italy? Well, that's great because I'm been really interested in Europe. What have you felt like has been one of the things that you've enjoyed most about living in Italy? Or what do you feel like living in Italy provides or gives, or what's the experience, what's the Italian experience that you wouldn't maybe get in other countries, right? So you're not just first going to the straight commonality, but you're digging in deeper about what this other person said to elicit more information from them, right? They shared a bit, and you're kind of trying to give them the opportunity to dig a little bit deeper, right? Hey, I'm interested in what you shared, and so I want to hear more, right? That's the idea, kind of the mindset behind reflective listening, as opposed to what you said piqued my interest because it reminded me about something in me, right? It's not let me bring it back to me and how this connects with me. It's that was interesting to me, so let me find more about you in this instance, right? Let me dig a little bit deeper to find more information about how this relates to you, how this made you feel, that sort of thing. So the digging in deeper part there can really help to encourage the other person to share a little bit more, and it helps show that you're interested, right? When you're asking follow-up questions, it shows that you're interested and engaged and paying attention. When you're doing the reflective listening part, when you're saying, oh, I understand how you felt here, or I understood what you said here, or I recognize this as well, or I'm hearing you when you're saying this, you're actively demonstrating your listening, right? And you're giving the other person an opportunity to be heard. That is big. No one wants to have a conversation with someone that's just one sided because that's not really a conversation, right? It's a monologue. Conversations and effective communication are two-sided. And when the other person is sharing a bit about themselves, you want to give them the opportunity, and you want them to give you the opportunity to share more about yourself. That's how you're going to make a real connection, is by giving both people a chance to show their personality. And when you're doing this reflective listening, when you're listening, changing the focus back to, okay, what's how did that interest you? How did that get you interested? How did that make you feel? What was that experience like? What did that make you think? What was the story behind that? All these things, right? It's digging in a little bit deeper to show that you care, to show that you're listening, to show that you're engaged, show that you're interested, right? All these things help make a difference. Commonalities and seeking commonalities is great, right? Our friends oftentimes are our friends because we can do things that we both enjoy together, right? It is that commonality that can help be the glue to keep great relationships together. However, when you're trying to make this connection, you can't just start with a commonality of you like this, I like this too, therefore we're friends or we should be friends. It has to be a little bit deeper. It has to be beyond just this commonality seeking modality, right? This vibe, that energy. It has to be a I'm interested in you, and maybe the reason I'm interested is because this is something that interests me and we have that in common, but I'm interested in hearing more about you. And the way I'm going to show that is by asking you more questions, asking you follow ups, and just recognizing that when you share information, I want you to know that I heard you, right? I heard the emotion behind what you said. I heard how this was a challenge. I heard how this was fun. I heard how, whatever the case is, I heard you. That's what reflective listening about is I heard you. And if you quickly shift away to I heard you and this about me, then it really doesn't give the person an opportunity to sit there for a second and feel heard, right? Which will end up impacting how well you're able to connect or not connect with them. So keep that in mind with having talked about storytelling, how to make your responses to questions a bit longer, give more opportunity for the other person to engage, having shared a bit about reflective listening, how to dig deeper when the other person is sharing. The last big piece of connecting is really about recognizing that the conversation or interaction you're having is going to end. Okay? So no matter how great it is, you're not going to meet someone and stay with them really for the rest of your life, hopefully, because you'll have a long and happy and healthy lives and the other person will as well and they'll enjoy their own time and everything else. But the point is, at some point the interaction will end, you'll go your separate ways. You may meet up again, great, fantastic. That is the goal of connecting is to see each other again, to interact again. But recognizing that the interaction won't last forever, you want to be prepared, right? So, one way to be prepared is to not wait until the end of the interaction to ask about following up, seeing each other again, connecting again, right? Don't just wait until the other person says, "Oh, I have to go," to then say, "Oh, wait, before you go, let me get your phone number or let me connect or let's exchange this Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever else," right? It seems like it can be opportunistic, right? It's better to ask for it at the end than not ask for it at all if you enjoy the person you really do want to connect. At the same time, though, what's even better is to be more proactive with it, right? If you know that you're enjoying the conversation with the other person, ask to exchange information earlier and then keep enjoying the conversation, right? It also shows that you're not so transactional, that it's not just about getting the networking information or getting the phone number or you know, getting a yes for a date or can we see each other again, but it shows that hey, I enjoyed you, I like you, I want to connect, and also I want to keep this conversation is going as well. So it's a stronger communication that it's a stronger way of saying, "Hey, I really like you," right? Not just I'm gonna wait till the end and then now say I really like you because if I don't say it now, I'll never get to say it. But I'm gonna say it when I feel it, so that you know it earlier. And then because I like you, because I feel it, because I want to connect, I'm also going to show that by continuing to engage with you, right? So it's kind of extra information, extra impetus, a stronger signal to show that hey, I like this, I'd like to connect, right? And part of what will make other people interested is knowing that you are interested in them. So that's the other big piece of connecting is showing your intent, showing your interest, right? You can't just wait for the other person to show their interest in you, right? Because if both sides are waiting, no one's ever going to take the first step. If you want it to happen, you have to be willing to take the first step, right? And what you don't do is say it's going to be my way or the highway. The way to do this or the way to think about this is you step into the middle and invite the person to meet you there. Okay? It's not forcing anything. It's you metaphorically stepping into the middle and inviting the person to meet you there. Right? So you stepping into the middle is you communicating your intent, whether it's to go on a date, whether it's to exchange information for networking, whether it's asking someone to be your mentor, right? What is it that you want and why is it that you want it? Hey, I really enjoyed talking to you because you have a great energy and I felt like we really connected over blah, 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 so let's go on a date. Hey, I really admire how you've worked to improve your communication skills, your presentation throughout your career, and also have that technical expertise and acumen. I really feel like I could learn a lot from you, and so I'd like to have continuing conversations with you because I think you would be a great mentor for me. However you want to say it, whatever your routine is, the point here is that you have to show your intent, and in showing your intent, include that why, include that because. I want to connect with you because I like talking with you because I think you would be great in this situation because, right? That really personalizes it and lets the other person again have an opportunity to feel appreciated, right? You're recognizing the things that are unique to them, the things that have been unique in your interactions with them, and there is value in that. When you are speaking to that value, it's easy for the other person to understand your intentions, where you're coming from, and how they may fit into your life, or at least your plan for how they may fit into your life going forward, right? Again, that's another thing that you can do as well is elaborate on that plan. So if you're asking someone on a date or asking for their phone number, you can elaborate more to give them more information to make it more concrete. Hey, let's exchange numbers and I'll give you a call tomorrow or the next day to see about maybe meeting up for a date next week, right? You're not just asking for the phone number. You're saying this is how I'm going to use the number, right? When I'm going to use it and for what reason. When you give that person more information, you're giving them the opportunity to feel comfortable, to know, to develop their own set of expectations, right? And it's shared expectations because you're saying, this is what I'm going to do. So now the other person knows what to expect, right? That can be part of the reason you're getting a no, is because the other person isn't clear on what you really want. Before I sign up to just go out on a date, I need to know what this date's about, where are we gonna go, what are we gonna be doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Before I sign up to be your mentor, how often are we gonna be meeting? Is it gonna require a lot of time? What do you really want from me? Blah blah blah. When you can say more of these things up front on your end, what you like, what your plans are, what you're thinking, and be aware that the other person has a mind of their own. They have their own plans, they have their own agenda, they have their own priorities, they have their own life. So you're sharing your vision for how the two of you will connect, and the other person can see that vision, and together you hope to create a shared vision, right? So it's not just, hey, it's this way or not, but it's the, hey, this is what I'm imagining. If you'd like to join that or be interested, let me know, right? All these things, of course, take practice, take time, take intentionality. So, my biggest advice with all of this is to practice, to recognize that it is a skill, to recognize that it is something that you get better at the more you do. So keep going out, keep being social, keep meeting people. When you do, make sure that you're engaging them with stories, putting some emotion into it. Make sure that you're listening to what they say, giving them an opportunity to be heard, asking follow up questions that are relevant to what they say before seeking commonalities, before then making it about yourself. And then when it comes time to follow up, be clear about what you want, communicate your intent, and you'll have much better success. I know because these things have really helped me. That's the reason I'm making this video, is because these things helped me. When I was really working on breaking out of my shell, breaking out of my introversion, I was looking up videos, listening to podcasts, reading books, trying to find what information I could because I recognized that I wasn't being successful, right? I recognized that I was talking to a lot of people and not connecting. I could see them getting bored. I could see the eyes glazing over. I got way more nice to meet you and I'm leaving now than I wanted to. So, by learning from me, by learning from my mistakes, by learning from the wisdom of others, you will be better. You won't have to make the same mistakes. You'll get better results more quickly. And I guess one of the last things to say too is that if you're trying to connect with someone and it doesn't go well, don't take it personally, right? Don't make it about you because it's really not. What you want to do, instead of taking it personally, instead of feeling like upset that it was a misconnection, appreciate your effort, right? Appreciate that you tried, appreciate that you put yourself out there, and recognize that progress is a process. So don't be discouraged by maybe not having the results that you want as quickly as you want. Keep on keeping on, and you will get there, right? If you keep moving forward, you will get there. It may take longer than you want, it may be harder than you want, but if you keep moving forward, you'll get there. And the way to keep moving forward is to continue trying and pushing yourself, right? 0.01% improvement is big improvement, and that 0.01% compounds over time, right? With that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please subscribe so that it can help other people find the channel and get these useful tips as well. Thank you.